He's over there running scared. His old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5. He drank full time and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared. His old man got a problem, and it's a bad one. He done pawned off damn near everything. His old woman waiting for a bottle. And don't you think it's a crime when time after time after time people in a bottle, there's people living. Hey, welcome to the Reality Check with Charles Butler. We are doing our thing here. Hold on a second. And it is a little nippy out here in Chicago. A little nippy today. But, you know, that's Chicago. That's why. Hey, if you don't like cold weather, don't be in Chicago. We're going to have a great guest with us today. Looks like Dan Perkins is called in. Hey, Dan, how you doing? You know, Dan is an author.
I'm fine.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
We're having a little nippy weather here in Southwest Florida.
Yeah. So what's the temperature? 70?
75.
Oh wow! It's just so
supposed to get down to 69 tonight.
No, it's just so cold over there. I tell you, just amazing. So, how are you, man? What's going on?
I've been very busy writing a lot of stuff.
And you're eating.
I did have one thing
What are you eating?
Just published on Saturday that I wanted to talk to you about. That I was going to send it to you as soon as we get off the air.
Yeah.
And we obviously talk about the election.
Well, I think right now I got Trump at 305, Biden at 2. I think I had Biden at 233 or something like that.
Well, my number is 365 for Trump.
Wow, that's high.
I've locked in there for the longest time. Nobody knows. Obviously, nobody knows, and nobody knows for sure. But when I see rallies of 47 and 57,000 people over the weekend
right.
for Donald Trump,
right?
And one of those humongous rallies was in the western part of Pennsylvania, where the Pittsburgh paper, for the first time, I guess since 1972, endorsed a Republican candidate for president.
Right.
And that's the heart of fracking in oil country. And it was either 47 there or 57 someplace else, but over 45,000 people were at the rally. The number I heard on Sunday, which I had not heard before, you may have, that when Trump won in 2016, he immediately began to assemble a ground force to help him in his campaign in 2020. The number I heard, and I think it was Laura Trump that I heard this yesterday, 2.5 million ground troops.
Wow.
In the Trump campaign.
Well,
and the Biden people didn't do any door-to-door, any of that stuff up until the last week or two. So they've given Trump a huge lead. I think the media is reading the early voting the wrong way. They're trying to say that the early voting is going to go Democrat. And I'm saying, I think that's a mistake. I think you're going to see, when the votes are counted, a surprising strength for Donald Trump in the early voting across the country.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think they're missing, the last number I heard yesterday was about 92 million people have already voted, either in person or by absentee ballot or mail-in ballot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The total vote in 2016 was about 130 million people.
Baltimore, I'll tell him that he's one of my YouTube people said they could hear you chewing loudly.
Can hear me chewing loudly?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have dentures, so I don't know what the noise is, but
You,
maybe you're eating something there,
no,
Charles.
I'm not eating anything.
Anyway,
I'm on YouTube.
So, okay. So, I think that there are some people who now think
Mm-hmm.
if we get a good sized turnout tomorrow, we may set a record for presidential elections.
You mean voting?
And
People voting?
Somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
The actual number of voters.
Yeah.
Could be as high as 70%. High turnout does not favor Democrats.
No, it doesn't. And I tell you,
high turnout.
And let me share something else with you. You know, Republicans, and I find this true amongst us. And correct me if you think I'm wrong, or you may disagree, but I don't know if you will or not. But I think that, see, we didn't vote early. I'm voting on voting day. I want to make sure that my vote is tabulated the old-fashioned way. I didn't vote early. I didn't do mail-in. I didn't do personal drop-off, because those votes have to be held somewhere. They have to be stored somewhere, and we don't know where that somewhere is. You know, they just tell us, well, it's on a movable portable disk, and at the when at the end of the election day, they will be moved to a tallying distribution center. And hey, I don't want all that. I want it the old-fashioned way. So I think a lot of us old school Republicans are voting on election day, and I think it's going to be a groundswell of people turn out. I mean, you don't know how many people I talk to here in Chicago who tell me that they're voting for Donald Trump. Now, you have to understand, that's not an easy thing to do, especially here in Chicago.
Right. No, I agree with you, and I hear it all the time. People are either saying they're voting for Biden when they're really saying they're going to. But here's the tell. Of all the polling data, here is the tell. And it was devised by a polling company, I forget their name, out of England. And the question they asked to try and figure out how big is the silent voter for Trump, it was a really simple question. Who do you think your neighbor's going to vote for? And like 58% of the time it was Trump, and 32% of the time it was Biden. See, I heard somebody yesterday make a really great statement. They said, when you go into the voting booth or you're sitting down at your ballot and you're looking at the ballot, do you see Joe Biden or do you see Donald Trump? Or do you see Donald Trump versus Donald Trump? Are you voting against Donald Trump when you vote for Joe Biden as opposed to voting for Joe Biden? He said that he believes that a lot of people will go into the voting booth and they're going to see that, and they just can't vote for Joe Biden. So as much as they hate to admit it, they're going to vote for Donald Trump. So I think this could be a very big election.
The question I have,
why
go ahead.
Which is the reason why I wrote the piece, Civil War About to Erupt in the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, they're two different, very distinct, different parties. Whenever you start talking socialism, for a lot of people, regardless of their political leanings, they're not stupid. Socialism has never worked anywhere. It's a great idea.
Right.
It didn't work in the Soviet Union. It hasn't worked anywhere in the world. The only reason communist China, is burrowing itself out of a financial, political, social poverty is because the Wall Street people and the industry elites decided to use cheap labor and destroy the American middle class while creating a 300 million person middle class in China. Nobody talks about this stuff. I mean, why is it that I have to bring this
Right.
up? You know, I could care less about 300 million Chinese being middle class. I could get less than 2 left titties. Okay. Um, the reality is they've destroyed our middle class, and Trump is bringing it back. He said, "Hey, I'm
Right.
putting Americans first." He's the first American president or politician, period, to put Americans first. I remember when George Bush declared that we have a new world order, and it shocked
Right.
me. It shocked me because new world order. What does that mean? Did we vote for a new world order? Did the American people vote for? No, they got together in Davos and in back rooms with cigars and decided that we're going to have a new world order. That's not the United States of George Bush couldn't make that call for us. I could not imagine Ronald Reagan
Right.
standing up and saying we have a new world order. Could you imagine that?
Right. No. So I think what's going to happen is, and this is why I wanted to talk to you about it. I think if Biden loses tomorrow, you're going to start seeing skirmishes, and the left is going to go after Biden because he didn't go far enough, and he didn't really work to be president. He spent too much time in his basement. And so what's going to happen is, let's say that the Democrats retain the House. AOC has already said that the new speaker has to be younger and more progressive, so that I don't think that she will have the opportunity to be reelected speaker. If for some reason she does, this will be the first major crack in the Democratic Party, and there will be more and more discussion. Now, I believe they're going to split into 2 parties. The first party is going to be the Social Democrats, and the second part is going to be the capitalist Democrats. Now, if you start looking at the Democratic Party and you start looking at how it's put together, it's a coalition of people. And I want to speak about 3 groups of people that are going to have to make decisions. Blacks, Hispanics, and unions. I saw a poll on Saturday that it was possible that Donald Trump could win 30% of the black vote in this election. If it turns out to be true, then Biden can't win because the Democrats need 85% of the black vote in order to elect their candidate. Number 2, that group of people, that black minority, some will go to the Socialist Democrats, some will go to the Capital Democrats, but some of them, 20, 25, 30%, will go to the Republican Party. 2, Hispanics. Looks like about 40% of the Hispanics are supporting Donald Trump. So any split in the Democratic Party will see maybe as much as 40% of the Hispanic vote go to the Republican Party. And thirdly is the unions. What Donald Trump has done, and he's smart in doing it, he got the policemen and he got other unions supporting him because he brought jobs back and he got better wages. So I think some portions of the union movement will abandon the Socialist Democrats and become Republicans.
Yeah,
so what's going to happen, and under my story, is that there are going to be 2 minority Democratic parties. They will try to put together a candidate in 2024, and the only way that they'll coalesce together is the left says that the center right has to concede to everything they want to do. That won't happen. So I think you could see 2 Democratic candidates in 2024. and that will be the war that destroys the Democratic Party as a legitimate force in the United States.
The thing that I see in this election is that people realize that this president has been treated very unfairly. So the media has lost all credibility, and they don't know what to do. Joe, you listen to Morning Joe, and he sounds like a desperate, whining little girl. He's, you're not listening to me. How could anybody vote for Donald Trump? Oh my God! And this guy on his show today, I want to play this little clip real quick. Let's see here. How does he say?
Over the long haul, the notion that Joe Biden is in a strong, almost impregnable position now in Wisconsin and Michigan, and a very strong position in Pennsylvania, that he will win those 3 states if all the votes are counted and they are tabulated fairly and people are patient, that Joe Biden's in a very strong position. Those are the only 3 states he needs to win the presidency. The problem is that none of those 3 states are going to report a result on election night.
This is a guy who was on Morning Joe this morning, that Joe Biden's lead is impregnable. Joe Biden couldn't turn out 300 people. I had a buddy who went to the rally in Waterford, Michigan the other day. He said there were 25,000 people. 25,000 people in that one incident. Amazing.
Yeah. And that's the point. The point is that the idea that you can win the presidency without going out and seeing the American people is the flaw of the Democratic campaign. And it's the same people who believe in the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, and single-payer health care, and all of those things, who decided we don't need to go out and do campaign appearances. See, I'm not convinced, Charles, if we didn't have a pandemic, Joe would still come out of his basement.
Well, you saw the guy, he called Trump George. He lost track. He continually loses track of his train of thought. He's angry. People say that he's showing signs of dementia, and that's why he snaps at people. Like he snapped at his wife Jill. She tried to help him out, and he's like, "Yeah, climate change. That's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying." I laughed. I'm like, dude, she's just trying to help you out because you lost.
Right. And so you got a candidate that the left is protecting. And the sad reality is, Charles, is that everybody else who would have been on the platform instead of Joe Biden would have even less of a chance to win the presidency. So at best, Joe Biden was the only choice they had.
Well,
so
what it says is, this is one thing that I'm glad of. And, people can take this any way they want. And that is, I am so glad that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is no longer on the Supreme Court, that I can't tell you how happy I am that she's gone. And I'm just not pulling any punches about it. I'm not, saying that. No. I have nothing nice to say about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I thought she was the worst chief. Just because you want to do something doesn't mean that it's okay. Just because you want to have a certain, so I want to do drugs. I want to shoot up heroin I'm a teacher and I want to shoot up heroin in my class. And because that's what makes me feel good, showing kids how to shoot up heroin. I mean, this woman was so far out of touch with any morals, any sense of right and wrong but she got away with it because she looked so grandmotherly. But, she was a devil and she was Satan in disguise. She looked so grandmotherly that everyone just, kind of got, they were fooled by her appearance. But this woman did more damage to American society. She did more damage to family structure. You know, women, you don't have to stay at home. You let your husband raise your children. You know, why should you be at home and he ventures out and conquers the world? Well, you know, it kind of reminds me of this thing they talk about not income inequality, but wage inequality. So a woman who doesn't have any experience, no connections, been at home or unemployed for 10 years, she gets hired into an office, and because she's there and she's doing the same thing supposedly that the guy who's been working for 20 years is doing, she should be paid as much as he's paid because she's a woman. Not based on her experience, not based on what she brings to the table, because she's learning, but somehow she should be paid as much as a man. Now, the interesting thing about this wage thing, and one of the reasons I've always worked for myself, is because as a manager, I used to see how blacks and certain people were underpaid, like 20-30%. Not what I mean, white women were paid more than black men who had families to take care of. And I thought that was interesting. That started happening in the 80s. I started seeing that trend in the 80s as a manager. And it bothered me then. And now these women are like, well, we want equal pay. It kind of reminds me of Venus and Serena. Venus and Serena at the Wimbledon. Men play 5 games a set. They play 3 games a set, but somehow we're all playing the same game. Yesterday, a old girlfriend of mine, she's an excellent golfer. We started playing golf together back in San Diego in 1977. I bought her lessons so that I always thought I would marry her. We would get old playing golf together. So we didn't get married, but we're still going to play golf, and we're old together. Okay. Great friend of mine. Love her to death. So I said to her the other day, I said, as soon as this coronavirus is over, I'm coming out. She lives in Palm Springs. I said, I'm coming out. We're going to play. And I said, are we going to, and I always tease her. I say, are we going to play from your tees or my tees? And she gets so sheepish. And she goes, no, Charles, that you have we're not going to, you're going to play from your own tee. I mean, we just have we've been doing this for 20 years. It's a serious comedy act, but we take it very serious between the two of us. But you understand what I'm saying? We're playing the game, but we're not playing the same game. You know, when we play with golf with a woman, a lot of times they'll have 150-yard advantage over us, and we're playing over water or over around trees or whatever, and they're playing straight to the to the green. You know.
I know. But they're not. It's not the same game.
It's not the same game. But look, in Wall Street Journal today, I don't know if you read through it. I mean, I know you get up early and do your trades and all that good stuff. You know, you're one of those guys. I'm an index guy myself. But one of the stories was churches strain to get out the vote. What people don't understand is that black people are tired of preachers and politics. They are not listening to preachers anymore. That's a bygone era. That ended about 20 years ago, but black preachers don't want the power structure to know that they really don't have any influence on the black vote. And so in this story, it's a story about a church in Milwaukee and how this guy's trying to get out the vote. People don't care what, I did a piece today, and I'll send you a copy as soon as I finalize it. But basically, I talked about how this election is similar to 1972. How is that? Richard Nixon was called a racist, a bigot. He hated black people. Donald Trump is called a bigot, a racist. He hates black people. President Nixon had more blacks in his administration than any other president up to that time in significant positions, and promoted blacks throughout the federal government and in federal judgeships. Donald Trump did the same thing. However, he didn't appoint any blacks as judges. But I know George Bush did because he appointed a good buddy of mine who happens to be black. He's a federal judge in San Diego. But and he appointed a lot more. I know that. But but when you talk about entrepreneurship, see, Donald Trump hit that button, man. He hit that button of self-sufficiency. See, most black people don't want a damn social program. They don't want these women out here having babies. They want people to pursue the American dream. And that's been ignored because our, I should say, black leadership co-opted the black movement and moved it towards socialism. And we all have to do things together. And if you should not be able to get ahead of John Doe because you black. So the real socialism has gone on in the black community since 1968, where we've ignored people who were achievers. We castigated people who became too white, i.e. being successful in America, being in corporate America, living in the suburbs, doing the so-called right things that became the white things. So that's why you have these basketball players that are making 10, 20, $30 million a year running up and down the basketball court looking like pickaninnies.
Okay.
And nobody's paying any attention.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I've been thinking about a little bit what you were saying, sort of what you were saying there, and I have a question for you. If we look at the ratings for the NBA and the NFL, these teams survive on television royalty.
Right.
And the networks demand and the sponsors demand a certain level of viewership in order to continue those contracts.
Mm-hmm.
If things don't turn around, I believe that the owners are going to be forced to renegotiate their contracts with the television networks, number one. Number two, I also believe no matter how wealthy the team owners are, they don't have the money for any extended period of time to cover the difference between what they getting in royalty and their payroll. And I think there's going to have to be pay cuts.
It probably will.
So that person may not.
But
the person who's making $10 million won't make $10 million.
I think. Well, look at the NBA. The NBA is not kneeling, and their viewership was still down. But I think the narrative.
Yeah, but the NBA. Excuse me for interrupting. The NBA put Black Lives Matters all over the place and allowed the players to put the names of people who were hurt under oppression and violence by the police on their jerseys and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so they got very much involved in that, and now the commissioner said a few weeks ago that's all gone next year, and I think the reason it's gone is because they saw what happened to the viewership and realized financially they can't survive because the television networks are going to demand a reduction in their fees that they're being charged,
mm-hmm.
and that's going to put a lot of people in financial difficulty. And that, again, it's a consequence of your actions that they didn't think about when they did them.
Yeah, and the reality is, the people need to understand that when you start pushing these agendas, these what I call fly-by-night agendas, because if Black lives really mattered to the Chicago Bulls, they would be down to
mm-hmm.
in City Hall talking to the mayor about putting more police in the black neighborhood and policing the black neighborhood and stopping black on black crime. So I think that the American people as a whole support the notion of Black Lives Matter and police brutality against blacks. I don't know a person that I talk to, except for one, and that's a guy named Joel. What's Joel's last name? Joel Gilbert. He made a movie about Barack Obama and some other folks. Good guy. He and I don't agree on everything, but we agree on a few things. But he was telling me that Michelle Obama's a man, and I know she's not a man. So, I mean, shit. Anyway,
don't go there, Charles.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you what he was talking about. I said I don't go there at all. I don't believe it. I know Michelle; she's a very nice person. So she's kind of like Donald Trump. She comes across surly and angry in public, but she's a sweetheart. In person, just a sweetheart. She's always a sweetheart to me. And Donald Trump, I understand he's gruff and rough in public, but he's just a darling man, one-on-one and off camera. So and I don't hear people say anything bad about this guy. I know a lot of people who know Donald Trump, and they all say he's just a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful person. So anyway, my point being that I'm doing a Joe Biden now, but my point being, I think that we need to circle back and really think about what's going on, what is really going on, how we can change America. I listen to Donald Trump after these killings and he's doing these riots, and even before these riots. Let me take that back. Before these riots, Donald Trump said this to the Black American community: why should your communities be drug infested, rat infested shitholes? and when you talk to a black politician,
I don't think he quite put it that way, but
well, he said that
I understand what he was saying.
But he said that Cummings District was a drug infested, rat infested community, which it is. The TV series, yes. The TV series The Wire is based on Cummings congressional district. So I mean, what is that if it's not what Donald Trump said it was? So question, roll forward. Okay, we roll forward. Donald Trump said, why should that exist? Why should we have this kind of Americans living in these conditions in America? Well, what did black politicians say about that? Do you remember? We can't change it. We can't stop the crime in the black community because that would put more black men in prison. Well, they belong in prison, but these people continue, and I'm talking about black politicians, black preachers. They need the grievances of blacks so that they have a job. I used to ask my listeners when I was at WVON, and I'd have people call in, and the question was this: was your ward served better when you had white aldermen representing you or black aldermen? And I tell you, 80% of the callers said when they had white aldermen representing their wards, because those aldermen understood their job. Their job was to be responsible to the people in the ward, not to fall lockstep with Mayor Daley. So anyway, does that help you out?
Yep.
Does that help you out?
Sure.
But I think that,
absolutely.
But I think
of course it does.
But I think that, I think the president, and I sent him a letter. I think the president missed the point of the protest in kneeling in the NFL, and that was not so much for Colin Kaepernick, because Colin Kaepernick was way off. He was just grandstanding, I guess. But the reality is, these men, and I know a lot of football players over my lifetime. Things used to happen to Kellen Winslow and Charlie Joyner in San Diego. They're driving in their nice expensive cars that cost more than the average cop made it a year, and they get pulled over and harassed by these cops. And luckily in San Diego, we had a police chief who happened to be a Jewish dude who was just cool as I don't know what. He said, give me the badge number and of the cop who pulled you over, and I'll deal with it. And I tell you, he did that for me. Because I used to get pulled over. I used to have a Porsche, and I was a young guy, 20, 25, 26 years old. And cops would pull me over thinking I was a drug dealer, even though I'm in a Navy uniform, even though I have a naval officer sticker on my car, and harass the hell out of me. And you know what? It gets tired. And at some point, being a man, you're going to fight back. Like I said, I've never been in that Martin Luther King mode. I'm more of the Jim Brown. I don't believe in protests. I believe in doing my thing, being self-sufficient, and for white folks to leave me the hell alone. Period. That's how I feel. That's how Black Republicans feel. They're not, we don't need your help. What did Frederick Douglass say? Leave us alone. Booker T. Washington, leave us alone. Leave us the hell alone. But people, especially, and that's why I've never been a Democrat, because they're so paternalistic and condescending to Black folks. And as Malcolm and Martin Luther King warned, the biggest enemy to Black progress is the white liberal. I didn't say that. Malcolm and Martin said that. Go ahead.
Well, you said something just a moment ago that struck me, because I've been hearing the word that you used a lot when Black people are at least on Fox News, and that is that we're tired of the way we've been treated. They use the word "tired" all the time.
Yeah, well, it gets old.
As a moniker for saying,
it gets old.
They don't say sick and tired. We're just plain tired.
I'm 68 years old.
It's gotten old.
Yeah, I'm 68 years old, and I can tell you right now, I really don't have any patience for BS. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't cotton too well, as the old folks would say, to people messing with me. And the problem with me is I can defend myself. I'm not interested in people. And this is true. I generally don't have problems with people. And when I do, I know it's somebody who has a problem themselves. As my ex-wife would say, someone who messes with you and the way you look and the way you're built, they must be crazy. That's
okay.
one
I'd agree with that.
That's one thing we agreed on, because anyway, the reality is, Dan, I think that as Fannie Lou Hammett would say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm just tired.
Mm-hmm.
And you noted that.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, and I think that that what Donald Trump has done for the minority community, he's given them a voice that they've never had before.
Yep.
And I think if the numbers are right, that he might get 30% of the Black vote. He may not get more than 30%, but I believe there are probably more than 30% of Black people in this country believe genuinely that Donald Trump has been trying to help them.
No question.
Do something.
No question.
And the fact that he's done more for Black people than I can't even figure out who would have been, who as any president would have done more for the Black community. I look at criminal justice reform, the funding of historic Black colleges, and I look at those.
Let me tell you a story.
Everybody was talking about. What?
Let me go ahead. Finish that.
No, I just think that that his emotional and intellectual commitment to try and do good for people and to give people the opportunity, regardless of their race or sex or national origin, is. And I go back to his speech in Detroit in 2016. What do you have to lose?
It was in Lansing, actually, Lansing, Michigan. It was in Lansing,
Okay.
Michigan. That's
Well,
about
wherever
60.
it was.
Yeah, that's the capital of Michigan. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that, I think that maybe sparked a little bit of hope in the Black community, and then what he's done over the last 4 years to follow on the idea that he was going to do something about the problems of Black people.
Mm-hmm.
It's been talked about for decades.
Well, they make that
40,
promise
40,
every
50
year.
years
See, this is the problem, Dan. See, what Joe Biden is doing, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And what the hell did you do, Joe? You've been in public office for 47 years. The biggest credit to your tenure as senator is, one, you fought against busing and integrating schools, and two, you incarcerated, you pushed the bill to incarcerate Black men. Those are his claims to accomplishments in his 40-some years in the Senate. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was with Barack Obama. Barack
Right.
Obama didn't do anything for Black people. And you remember, Dan, I used to say, when you come on my show, I used to always say that Barack Obama was going to be the linchpin that pushed Black Americans out of the Democrat Party to look for something different, because they realized they've been taken advantage of.
He has not been He hasn't been terribly effective in his rallies around the country. I mean, the press is giving him a lot of coverage, but he's not drawing crowds.
No.
I mean, I saw him in a parking lot in Philadelphia. We had 60 cars. I mean, he has, however, and I think the thing that is hurting him and ultimately hurting Biden is that he's turned vicious against the president, and it doesn't wear well on him when he starts attacking Donald Trump.
Well, I have a police officer.
Now, if Donald Trump has the same counter.
I have a police officer on YouTube who's chatting with us, and he said, I worked those Baltimore neighborhoods for many years, and they're everything you described and more and worse. So, I mean, he says, he tweeted, for FYI, Ivanka Trump toppled Obama's fundraising record in Texas the other day, raising over $35 million during one appearance. Damn. POTUS wasn't even with her.
35 million. 35 million.
Damn. That's amazing, man. I mean, there's no way he's losing Texas. There's no way he's going to lose Arizona. I think he's going to take Wisconsin. He's certainly going to take Michigan. He's going to take Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania. He's going to sweep those. He lost Wisconsin last time by a few votes. He's definitely going to take Florida. So he's got North Carolina, South Carolina sold up. I think he might even pull.
So are you anticipating that Biden is going to pull less electoral votes than Hillary?
Yeah.
That's your numbers?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see people enthusiastic about Biden. They, like I said, anytime you sit and you talk about what you're going to do, and people realize this guy had a track record. This guy was in office for 47 years, and he can't point to any achievements except to talk about coronavirus and and blame Donald Trump for 220,000 American deaths. And everybody's going, even stupid people going, well, how in the hell can he blame Trump for the virus when Trump tried to stop the virus from coming here and everybody fought him? They see what these people forget is that we have a brain. Under Barack Obama, people stopped thinking and they listened to Barack because he sounded so good and he was so charismatic. And if you want your doctor, you can get. We're not going to insure illegals in Obamacare and affordable health care. They will not get health care. They will not get free education to college. He was a damn lie. He knew he was lying.
Mm-hmm.
But people,
Yeah. No, I agree.
thinking.
I agree.
People stopped thinking and they stopped rebelling and they stopped pushing forward. And then it was just horrible. It was horrible. I what can I say? Anyway.
So,
or
he won't be elected. He won't be elected president.
I have a guest out here, Jan O'Connor. No, not Jan O'Connor. It's John O'Connor. Mr. O'Connor. Hello.
I'm right here, Charles.
Hey,
how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing? I'm so sorry that I didn't see you out there. I looked for you and then I lost track. Hey, I'm sorry for keeping you out there. This is a guest of mine.
Hey, but I love the discussion. You're right on it. And I got to say, you're right on the button here, Charles, on the stuff you're talking about. So keep at it,
Well, John, join us. Dan Perkins is an author and a good friend of mine. He writes for, Town Hall and all of those good folks. It kind of like you, for you folks who don't know about John wrote a book called Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. He served as the assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California, representing both the United States in both criminal and civil cases. Man, I'm so sorry that you got to come on with me tomorrow or something. I'm so sorry that I didn't give you some.
Well, I'd love to. And you know something, I just wanted to add to what you guys were talking about, because it's so important that people don't realize that the Democratic Party was actually founded. One of the bases was looking the other way on slavery. I mean, I'm not making that up.
That's right.
That's just part of the history books.
That's true.
That was founded on that basis.
That's true.
And the only time the solid South quit being solid was when the Civil Rights Act was passed. Then all of a sudden, okay, we don't care about that anymore. Okay, we don't care about slavery. But the fact is, Trump's out there. He wants to get 500,000 entrepreneurs out there. That's his goal.
Right.
And if we have 500,000 black entrepreneurs out there, guess what? Maybe we wouldn't need a whole lot of programs administered by people in big offices in Washington, D.C., dispensing their little favors to their contractors and buddies and cronies. And maybe we'd have a vibrant, and gosh, how about this? How about it if we had a whole lot more middle-class blacks out there as entrepreneurs? And instead, you know what we just did, Charles? We just sat there and watched, and if you watch CNN or MSNBC, it's quite all right for people to go smash into the hard-earned stores, storefronts owned by black people.
Right.
What about their lives? What about their property? Does that matter at all?
Yeah.
Does anybody care about that?
Yeah.
You don't hear about it. And so what you're talking about is, I got to say, it's right on, and nobody has the guts to talk about it. A lot of white people are afraid of it. They're going to call them racist if they say stuff like that. And then the Democratic herd isn't going to talk about it. So thank God you're out there talking about it.
Well, I just had a little tweet online, because I do a live chat here, and Nia says that, hey guys, Trump will lose badly. Dems are the devils, but Trump will lose. President Trump has brought out the evil in people. It's disgusting and sad. Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think that when you look at the media continues to lie, like they lied on Charlottesville. The protesters attacked the marchers, and the protesters didn't leave the street and rush the marchers. The protesters rushed the marchers who were walking to the park. So how were they the antagonists? But those are the lies that media tends to tell. And then they talk about the young.
saying that Trump brings out the hate in people is like saying, damn it, that girl was too good looking. She had it coming. I had to rape her. You know,
Yeah.
Trump was in office. He wasn't even in office. He was elected about 22 minutes when there was a so-called pussy protest in Washington, D.C. The resistance started about 4 hours after that. We gave him a really good chance, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then people say, oh, well, he brought out hate in us. I think it's just the opposite. He has been forced to deal with hate for 4 years. This whole Russian episode was just totally bogus. We all know that. And
Right.
it was just a con job. And so he's had to deal with all this. So, yeah, I mean, he's a guy. He's a brash guy. He fights back. He's a tough guy. He doesn't always talk politically and all that stuff. But, we're all grown up. We're all grown up. I mean, if thousands of people are yelling at me, I'm going to yell back at them.
Well, you should. And that's the problem with these young kids and these liberals. They think that they can hit you and beat you, and you're not supposed to fight back. That's that Martin Luther King crap. I've never been a Martin Luther King proponent or believed in none of his crap. I thought he was a self-aggrandizing person, to be kind. But hey, that's just me, anyway. Hey guys, we got about we got about a minute and a half left now. So you guys go ahead and wind this thing up for me.
I'll say one thing and then let because you got a very bright guest. I'll just say one thing. The Justice John Harlan back in 1890 in Plessy versus Ferguson said, we all ought to be colorblind in this country, colorblind. And we never paid attention to them. And that's what we should be. We should be colorblind. And so I'll shut up, and you've got a great guest here. You give your comments.
Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. It was a pleasure listening to you, sir. I think that the piece I talked about, where there's going to be a split in the Democratic Party, it's been coming for some period of time, and the black people finally realized that they were the pawns, and nothing really positive was going to happen to them as Democrats. This is a multifaceted moment that we're going to go through tomorrow, or when it's all over. And if Charles is right that Trump gets over 300 electoral votes, I think it's going to be higher, but that's my opinion. It is truly a seminal moment in the political process in the United States, and I think the biggest downside is the minimization of the Democratic Party. But I don't believe that the Democratic Socialists will ever believe that they were always right. And so we're going to see the potential for a very long run for Republicans to be in control of the country. And
the courts.
And I heard a person yesterday say, what?
And the courts.
Yes. I heard that the nominee for president in 2024 from the Republican Party will be the most electable woman in the country, Nikki Haley. Yep. She's pretty good.
Yeah, but I wouldn't vote for Nikki.
Yeah,
Nikki was an anti-Trumper, and I've looked at Nikki's record. I've looked at her real close. I wouldn't support Nikki Haley. I'm not going to support Nikki Haley.
Well, she came back around.
Now, you know what?
She wasn't anti-Trumper.
You know what, John?
But,
You know what, John? Yeah. At the end of the day, she said some things, and she left the United Nations. She said some things about Trump and his policies. Remember this. I was told this by an old Dick Nixon appointee, black appointee. His name was Arthur Fletcher, Dr. Arthur Fletcher.
Yep.
And Art said, a tiger never changes stripes and a leopard never changes his spots. So when George Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, called him and said, well, I'm going to appoint Clarence Thomas to the bench. What do you think of that? Art said that I thought I told the president I thought he'd work out, and he said I thought Clarence would come around a little bit because he was given a job for a lifetime. He wouldn't have to worry about a job. He said I thought that he would, be a little different. And I said to Art, well, Art, you taught me that a tiger doesn't change his stripes and a leopard changes spots. He said, yeah, man, I blew that one.
Well, there are people out there with principles, and you're going to find, by the way, Amy Coney Barrett's going to be a hell of a good show. So,
hey, folks. Well, look.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys.
I
Go ahead. Go ahead, guys.
thank you for joining us.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for joining us. It was a pleasure to listen to you, and we'll talk after the election.
We'll talk after the election, guys. It was wonderful having both of you aboard. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. So,
Okay, Charles.
okay,
Keep
thank
it
you.
up, buddy.
Okay, we'll
All right,
do.
take
All right.
care.
All right.
See you now.
Okay, folks. I'm gonna got my YouTube folks out here. So we're gonna keep on rolling. Nia says Joe Biden is terrible. It's too sad. Then Nia says she likes Charles Butler. And then Morning Joe and Micah. Ooh, that's bad. Somebody put something real, said a bad comedy act. They are. They're kind of funny. But they'd be funny if they weren't so serious and try to influence so many millions of people who watch them every morning and then go to work and try to tell us what's going on, what's good for us and what's bad for us. I remember Michael Brzezinski saying, we tell the American people what to do, how to think. And that always rubbed me the wrong way, Micah saying that. She was so serious. I mean, she was serious as a heart attack. But and so we're heading toward the election tomorrow. So for those of you, don't forget to get up and vote. I got to go vote and get up early and do my thing. Yes, indeed. And don't you forget to do the same thing and get out there and vote if you haven't. Make your vote count so that we can have a better America. We can make our voices known, our votes count, and so we can do what we need to do in the country and have hopefully have 4 more years of a man who's fighting for us each and every day. That's Donald Trump. Not sitting. I can see Joe Biden now sitting in the Oval Office, not moving. And for those of you who see me on YouTube, I can't leave the White House because it's coronavirus outside and come and get me. I could see them taking Joe out of the Oval Office in a straitjacket. I mean, this guy should have retired with grace and dignity. It's really interesting. And I want to say a couple of things about Sean Connery dying the other day. Sean Connery, the original James Bond. I remember saving enough money to go to the movies to see James Bond. And the first James Bond flick that I saw was Goldfinger. And I used to listen to jazz. I was a kid, but I used to listen to jazz because my dad listened to jazz. So there's a lady named Shirley Bassey. She's a British singer. And I always thought that Shirley Bassey, besides having such a sexy voice, was such a beautiful, beautiful Black woman. And if you see pictures of her, I mean, she's just, even today, she's just beautiful, just a gorgeous Black woman. She must be 80 years old. I'd still date her today. Yes, I would. But Shirley Bassey, she was singing Goldfinger. And they used to play that on the air on this jazz station I listened to. And I became infatuated with England and English people and going to London. It's a city I always wanted to go to. So I know London almost as well as I know Chicago. I mean, I could drive a car around London literally because that's how well I know the city. I have a Trump hat somewhere. Let's see. I was given a Trump hat the other day, and this is interesting. I was given a Trump hat the other day. I was sitting in a parking lot Friday night, sitting in a parking lot Friday night. So this guy, he parks this SUV and it says, I'm a deplorable. I'm a Trump deplorable. And so he got out of the car and I blew my horn and gave him a thumbs up and said, I'm an original Trump deplorable. And we started laughing. Ha ha ha. And we started talking. And we got to talk about Trump. He had just left the big rally they had up in Wisconsin. I think it was right outside of Milwaukee, right outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Big rally. He said, Charles, it must have been 25,000 people. I said, yeah, that's what they said. He said, it was wonderful, man. He said, I'm just following Trump around. So he was on his way to Waterford. So it must have been Thursday because he's on his way to Waterford, which is Friday. And that's when my friend Tim went to see the president in Waterford, which Waterford is right next to Pontiac, which is where I grew up. And it was incredible, man. It was fun. It was great. You just can't beat it. These rallies. So for anyone to say that Biden has an impregnable lead in Wisconsin and in Michigan and Pennsylvania, they're lying. They're lying their ass off. People don't even come out to see these guys. They don't even come out to see them. Hello. Okay, what did someone say? Help support the show and propel it. Hit the like button on the way out. Oh, okay, yeah, please do that. Thanks for reminding me. 90 years young, says Tom, the best Bond ever. Rest in peace, Sir Sean Connery. He was a hell of a guy. And he's just a real man's man, a real ladies' man, and a real Bond guy. So I'm going to end the show today with that. And I think maybe I should end the show playing Goldfinger. What do you think? Goldfinger. If I can find a Goldfinger song, that the title, that was such a classic. And if I thought about it before, I would have downloaded it. Goldfinger. He's a man. I didn't know what a Midas touch was. I remember going to the to the dictionary and looking up what a Midas touch was. So Goldfinger, that was a hell of a movie. And
quality writing makes your schoolwork better. Meet Grammar.
And just a hell of a thing. What do you call it? Here we go. Little Goldfinger. Tribute to Sean Connery.
Goldfinger, he's the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch, such a cold finger beckons you to enter his web of sin. But don't go in. Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you feel. For a golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you fear. For a golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death the gold finger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. He loves only gold. Only gold. He loves gold. He loves only gold. Only gold. He loves
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Hey, get out, go vote. Be good.